Comrades, we are commemorating Workers' Day today as the German Polish Marxist revolutionary socialist Rosa Luxemburg consciously put it, and I quote, when she said, "As long as the struggle of the workers against the ruling class continues, May Day will be the yearly expression of our demands," close quote. Our labor is the source of all wealth and life. We honor the sacrifices, the struggles, and the contributions of millions of workers and their families, from the clothing factories of Salt River to the farms in Limpopo. We applaud the nurses of Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital and the teachers in the rural schools in Kibika, where learners lack decent sanitation. The police and security personnel who ensure that the safety and comfort of all, even at the cost of their own lives, in KwaMhlabu Yalingana. As ordinary workers who do the hard work and sometimes very indespicable task without due recognition and fair compensation for it. We salute you on this day. Comrades, this day is the day when we say thank you to you, the workers of our country. When we reflect on our victories and remobilize for our battles ahead. This is the day when we tell government and employers that as we, the Federation, we shall continue to fight the struggles of the working class. Comrades and fellow South Africans, the lives of workers remain tough, but there are also victories that we have achieved. During the past year, as a result of Cosatu's interventions at NEDLEC, in Parliament and with government, we have released over 60 billion from the Unemployment Insurance Fund into the pockets of workers who have lost wages to ensure that they put food at the table of their families. This has helped more than 5 million workers. It has helped save jobs and keep companies open. It is the single largest injection cash into our economy. This is the largest contribution of workers to saving this economy. We have also ensured that the UIF retrenchment benefits have increased from 8 to 12 months, that maternity leave and retrenchment payouts were increased. Workers are now entitled to paid paternity and adoption leave. During the pandemic, we have ensured that all workers have the right to refuse dangerous work. Any employer who forces them to work without the necessary protection can be prosecuted. Workers who have been infected by the corona at work can claim now from the compensation fund. Workers who are required to undergo quarantine can claim from the UIF. We have been able to force government and the banks to extend the loan guarantee scheme to help save companies. But we must say that we are disappointed that due to its excessive strict conditions, it has only distributed 18 billion. We put pressure on banks to provide relief for struggling consumers, though this was too little. Comrades, we have achieved an above inflation increase in the national minimum wage. Farm workers from the 1st of March this year, 2021, and now the full national minimum wage of 20.69 rands an hour. Domestic workers will earn the full national minimum wage from early 2022. Cosatu's Eskom Social Compact has been agreed to by government and business. At its heart, it is an agreement that no Eskom worker may be retrenched. And we're saying government must clean up the corruption and mismanagement that has brought Eskom to its knees. As a federation, we're saying those who have looted at Eskom must be arrested. Eskom must also embrace a just transition that will see jobs being created, not destroyed. The economy needs reliable and affordable electricity. If this economy is to recover. Comrades, Cosatu played a leading role in developing the economic recovery plan. And key pillars of the economic recovery and reconstruction plan include the following. The Eskom Social Compact, that is a central pillar of the economic recovery plan. A national buy local campaign that all of us as South Africans must buy local goods and not imports. This, when we do, will save and create thousands of jobs. This includes us as workers, business and government. Comrades, there are no goods that we cannot produce as South Africa. A massive infrastructure program that has already secured 1.6 trillion for investment in roads, in electricity, in rail, in ports, water and agriculture. These will spur manufacturing and economic growth and will create jobs. Cosatu overhauled the Public Investment Corporation Act to ensure that the PIC is forced to root out corruption and to account for how it invests in workers' pensions and insurance funds. And for the first time, workers are now represented on the PIC board. Comrades, while we have secured these and many other victories, we cannot afford as workers to rest on our laurels. The challenges that are facing workers are too many. President Ramaphosa and the leadership of the ANC, workers in their numbers, they voted for the African National Congress. Workers have ensured that the ANC was returned to office with a clear mandate to create jobs and deal with corruption. Workers are angry, they are hurt, and they are disappointed. We have seen government impose a 4-year wage freeze on public servants. These are the very same nurses, doctors, police, and teachers that we praise for saving us during this pandemic. Yet government honors them by abandoning a signed wage agreement and does not even have the courtesy to engage workers. The private sector employers, President, have taken heart from this and are joining the unholy attack on the constitutional right of workers to collective bargaining. This will cause untold labor market instability. Workers have a right to a living wage. And we will not allow government and employers to destroy collective bargaining. And the real reason why government's finances are in a crisis, it is because of politicians and their friends who have looted to a point of collapse. It is politicians and their friends and families who have destroyed our SOEs. It is business who have robbed SARS of billions. Now government wants to dump the bill for corruption on nurses who are earning 186,000 per annum. And as a federation, we are saying this is the height of immorality. If government wants to deal with government's budget crisis, then it must stop the looting of 150 billion every year from the state. It is time for that government showed the moral courage and ban politicians, their spouses and children from feasting off the public tenders. Those who steal must go to prison. And we have seen all of them lining up at the Zondo Commission. What we are calling for workers is to see them in locally produced orange overalls. President, unemployment has gone past 40%. Thousands face retrenchments, not only in the private sector, but also in the public sector. Key SOEs have collapsed, all others are collapsing. Thousands have lost their jobs at SA Express, at SAA, at SABC, and more are at risk in Denel, in Transnet, and elsewhere. PRASA has been stripped, but we do not see a plan by government to save it. We need a plan that will save our SOEs and their workers' jobs. And throwing workers into the unemployment queue is not a plan. Taxis are notorious for the abuse of rights of passengers and the labor rights of their drivers. It is time we intervene to bring sanity to the rule of law to this sector. Employers are allowed to retrench and only pay workers a week's pay per year served. And we are saying this must change. Our labor laws are too soft and need to be strengthened. Our labor and health inspectors are too few. They must be reinforced and moved from their comfortable offices to the workplaces where workers are abused every day. The Extension of Tenure Security Act was strengthened to protect farm workers and their families from evictions. Yet our government is failing to enforce this act. The National Credit Act was amended by Parliament to protect the essential possessions of workers from being repossessed. It needs to come into effect now. So it is to our eternal shame that millions of women and girls are subjected to horrific violence at home, in schools, in the public transport, and at work. And we're asking, where are our fellow men? That is why Cosatu is calling for Parliament to move faster and pass the 3 gender-based violence bills that are before it. Parliament and government needs to ratify Convention 190 on sexual harassment and violence in the workplace by no later than August 9. The entire world, as we have said and we have seen, has been held hostage by COVID-19. Great progress has been made in developing a vaccine that will save millions of lives. Yet, we have not even vaccinated 1% of South Africans. Not only are we far behind the world, but we are far behind in the continent. And this is threatening to collapse our tourism industry, as 95% of the world has placed severe travel restrictions upon our country, South Africa. This is a national tragedy, Mr. President. And we are calling and saying that all South Africans must receive their vaccination by December 2021. And we are pleased that majority of vaccines will be produced at Gqeberha. Comrades will be going to the local government elections in October. The unions of Cosatu have reaffirmed the decision of our members to endorse the African National Congress and call upon workers to vote for it. This is not a blank check. Councillors who have looted must be removed. The African National Congress must fix local government and ensure basic services are delivered. Municipal workers who have been dismissed for exposing corruption must be reinstated. Municipal workers who have not been paid their salaries must receive what is due to them. Government must pass legislation to ensure that elections, workers and freedom days are non-trading holidays. We are glad, President, because you spoke about this and you have promised us that this shall happen. Because workers should not be forced to choose between feeding their families and exercising their right to vote. Workers are disappointed, we must say, with the behavior of many ANC leaders. Now it is up to the ANC if it wants workers to continue to support it, because workers love the African National Congress, but their patience is not indefinite. So we're calling on the ANC to clean up the act at Luthuli House or face the consequences. And we're saying to workers, we must be careful not to be seduced by the promises of opposition parties. What is common to the opposition parties is their determination to destroy the hard-won rights of workers to a minimum wage, to being unionized, to work in safe conditions, and to a time off that we have fought so hardly for. So what is to be done? As a federation, we're calling on workers and the working class to unite. This is a big question that is directed to all employed people of this country. And we're asking, can we do anything about this situation when we are divided and when we are weak as labor? Can we really unite? The labor movement needs to first acknowledge that it is weak in South Africa. And if we are honest and acknowledge that we are weak, we will know what needs to be done. And to prove that indeed we are weak, we have 205 trade unions and 24 trade union federations that are registered with the Department of Labor in our country. Yet all these trade unions only organize about 27% of the workforce. And this means that about 73% of all workers in South Africa are unorganized. So we cannot, as workers, win any battle when we are divided, because you become a minority. Comrades, we should be having 73% of the workforce organized And then we must be talking about how we're going to organize the remaining 27%. So let us unite our unions and organize the unorganized. Employers are crushing us. They are reversing our gains and replacing us with machines. Forget about what is written on your t-shirt. Forget about the logo that is on your t-shirt and its color. Because if we do not unite, we will only wear our different t-shirts when we go to the UIF to apply for the unemployment grant. If, as a trade union, you do not have a 50+1 threshold in a workplace, then you are not organized in that workplace. So there are almost 10 million workers that are unorganized in South Africa. So in recruiting, we need to deal with the structural economic changes that are also associated with the changing workplace organization and mode of work for us to successfully recruit. The workforce demographics composition has changed. It's more youthful and relatively better educated now. Some of this workforce has no direct sentimental attachment and experience to popular struggles. So unions should find ways of recruiting those young workers. At work, if you are not a member of a union, you cannot blame anyone when employers are abusing you. So let us stop outsourcing our responsibility as workers. Join a union and participate, or you perish. Fight corruption in the labor movement. Why are our unions fragmented and splintered? Why are they being put under administration by the Registrar of Labor? And the answer is that there is corruption. Corrupt organizations cannot wage and win struggles. Corrupt organizations breed corrupt leaders, and corrupt leaders sell out and compromise with employers. And the solution is to fight corruption inside our organizations. And if we continue to allow corruption in our unions, then we cannot fault those who are crushing us. We are not victims, but we are enablers if we continue in this path. Do not elect corrupt leaders, and do not allow your unions to be divided by corruption. Comrades, the labor movement needs to be sustainable. We can never fight employers who are also our funders. If a trade union has to fundraise to go for a strike, then that trade union is in big trouble. If you depend on your enemy for your existence, then you are in big trouble. So you unite and fight. As workers, we are on our own. We cannot outsource our responsibility. So what is happening to us happens across all economic sectors, is a blatant provocation. And the solution to that is for us to unite and fight. Now, if the current challenges do not force us to unite and fight back against the austerity measures and the capitalist onslaught, we are then doomed as workers, and we deserve our misery. So starting with the current deadlock in the public service wage negotiations, unions and social organizations should respond with militancy and programs of the must line. This means embarking on a mass picketing, going for sympathy strikes and solidarity rallies, embracing the widest sections of workers, both in the public and in the private sector. Comrades, trade unions need to unite with a range of mass formations organizing in students, women, religious groups, and youth to build and strengthen working class power in society. Permanent mobilization of working class and the poor through variety of their organization is necessary to build capacity and momentum against this working class onslaught. So let us also come out with alternatives. If we are unhappy with capitalism, what is the alternative economic model to stand up to and replace neoliberalism and the free market? We agree that it is socialism, but in theory, what does that mean? Practically, what needs to be done? Our state-owned entities are collapsing, as we have said. We agreed that they should not be privatized. But how do we fix them? So let us get talking as the working class about these alternative ideas. Local government elections in October, Cosatu, as we've said in its special recent CC, has reaffirmed its support for the ANC. So it is up to our ally, the ANC, to determine the success of this upcoming campaign. The ANC government needs to intervene and resolve the issues that workers have raised, or else we will have a parallel campaign preparing for a massive strike. We have also made it clear that we support the right of the ANC to defend itself against ill discipline on the part of some of its members, those that are ill-disciplined. So we cannot afford to continue to pander to a small minority of comrades who have long abandoned the principle of collective leadership in favor of crass individualism that continues to harm the image of this glorious movement. Comrades, on this day of International Workers' Day, Cosatu, your federation, recommits itself to solidarity with our fellow workers who are under attack in Palestine, in Swaziland, in Western Sahara, in Burma, and other parts of the world. We also salute the people of Cuba who continue to showcase what it means to be progressive. And not just progressive, but to be progressive internationalist. On behalf of the National Office Bearers and the Central Executive Committee of Cosatu, I want to wish all workers in our country a successful International Workers' Day. Thank you very much.